Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing good and your preparation is going on well. So welcome to Recitals in Depth by Vajiram and Ravi for the month of September, wherein we will cover the current affair articles across these broad themes essential for GS Paper 3, particularly Science and Tech section. The first theme is going to be a convergence between biology and chemistry. So we are going to read about biochemistry products that are developed and their application. In the second, we will read about the chemicals, specifically their associated disasters and their preventive measures. Then, we will uncover the newfound secrets of the space and also that of the Earth. Then, we will evaluate the performances and new innovations by space agencies like ISRO and also the contribution of women in space programs. So, for a detailed analysis, stay tuned. So having read about the polar winds, shall we also try to compare it with the solar counterpart originating from the sun? Yes, solar wind. Why? Because the solar winds have been in news specifically last year. You remember in the recitals we have covered about the coronal mass ejections. What are coronal mass ejections? Try to recall it in the comment section. Second thing, we also read about the solar storms. The solar storms. Okay. Which of the following are actually driven by the electric fields of the sun? Both of them. And therefore, both the solar wind and the polar wind are not actually the climatic winds we are talking about. These are the electric fields, prominent electric fields which are moving at very, very high speed. But see, if I'm differentiating them or if you're asked to differentiate about it, just remember these key points. First of all, what is its origin? Polar wind is not originating from the cryosphere of the Earth, which means definitely originating from the poles, but not from the cryosphere, but from the upper parts of the atmosphere, which is able to create a lot of electric field. Which part of atmosphere is that? It is the upper part of atmosphere, which is more exposed to the sun's radiation. Sun's radiation will heat up the particles and make it ionized. This ionized particle, you remember I have already taught you in the solar storms that if I see a lot of electrons moving in some particular direction, then it creates something which is known as electric current. And this electric current will also be augmented by an electric field. So what happens? The electric field has been generated by the upper parts of the atmosphere. So upper parts of the atmosphere includes, so there is troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere. Right? So it starts from the thermosphere, specifically the ionospheric part, which consists of plenty amount of plasma, which generates electric field, is also then generated by the exosphere, okay? And then all of it, because it is driven by electric field. So these electric field lines try to evict this plasma out into the space. And this is known as a polar wind. So the origin is not the surface, origin is the upper atmosphere. What is the reason? We have already discussed. Next is, what is the source of energy? It's the solar radiation. We have already taught you. Next is, what is the primary composition? Now here comes the classic difference between both of them. So see, these are electric fields, these are electrons. So electrons are essentially comprising of the beta particles. Beta particles are nothing but electrons only, okay? Then it obviously would comprise of the helium ions, okay? So there is protons, there are helium ions. Alongside, in the case of polar winds, they have oxygen ions which are not present in the solar wind, because in the sun do we find any oxygen? No, but in the earth we do find. So the oxygen ions are only present in the polar wind, okay? Then what is their role in the space weather? Of course, polar wind is able to create phenomena like auroras. We have already seen that, okay? Those are majorly happening in the polar region only, and that too driven by the ionospheric disturbances, and that too when it is hit by something like a solar storm from outside the space. Similarly, when any kind of charge is trying to, in very high speed, trying to move and escape out of the atmosphere, then that also creates auroric effects, okay? So it creates auroras, and it also leads to the overall creation, maintaining the stability of the magnetosphere, because the stronger your electric field is, the stronger and proportionately oriented your magnetic field would be. So magnetic field is very important for keeping us safe against the sun storms, the solar storms like these. Okay, so I hope the difference between both of them is clear to you. By the way, what is exactly the place from which the solar wind originates? Is it the surface, the core, or the crust of the, there's no crust, but the outer layer of the sun? So the answer is the outermost layer, which is the most heated most layer. This is known as corona. Therefore, the plasmatic ejections are known as coronal mass ejections. Fine, I hope this topic is clear to you. So students, shall we now move into the next topic? I think we should. So let's look into the next topic, again very interesting one. This is about the quantum gravity. As the name suggests, see, first of all, this is something you must have not heard of before, because this is a new theoretical concept, okay? New theoretical concept which is trying to bring a conciliation between the quantum mechanics, the quantum physics and the gravitational physics. Now, when I read about the different theories of physics, I know that it all started with Newton getting hit by an apple and then discovering the gravitational force, which is nothing but the product of the forces exerted by two massive bodies towards each other, on each other, which is inversely proportional of the distance between both of them. That was the gravitational force which Newton, that was a classic physics theory that Newton gave to us, and we were following blindly also. It is true to certain extent. It is true for massive bodies like Earth. It is true till solar system. But the moment you move out of the solar system, think about the black holes, the white holes, the neutron stars, etc. Do you think they would be following something like a gravitational field theory? No. Gravitational force theory is a classical mechanics which is applicable only for earthly bodies, earth bodies, right? For more cosmic bodies, now we have got different branches of physics which comes under the modern physics theories. So against the gravitational mechanics, we have got the Einstein's theory of relativity. Einstein's theory of relativity, which suggests to me that the entire cosmic space is nothing but a trampoline, a fabric of space and time. And the more massive a body is, the more it is able to wrap the time-space around it. If it is able to wrap it more, it will be able to circulate the other smaller massive bodies around it. And this is how the entire universe is functioning right now, and this is the more accepted theory currently. This is by Einstein, the theory of relativity. Please remember, this is how the cosmic bodies work. But if you come at the subatomic levels, even the classic theory of relativity fails. And what is applied? It is the quantum physics or the quantum mechanics. So at the cosmic level, we have got the validity of theory of relativity, and at the quantum level, at the subatomic level, we have got quantum mechanics. Fine. Is there any space in the universe? Because universe is unfolding a lot of possibilities. Anything could be possible. Is there a space which validates both of these theories together? Because you will be seeing that in the cosmic spaces, quantum mechanics, as of now, as of what is known to us experimentally, is not valid. In the subatomic spaces, theory of relativity is not valid. But scientists recently have discovered that there could be certain theoretical spaces across the world, across our universe, which might be adhering to both of these theories in conciliation. So this is a kind of theory which tries to bring together the quantum mechanics and the gravitational physics, which is a classic place or an area in the universe which would be following the unity of these two principles. Think about it. The most dynamic particle of all, the black holes. So the area of the black holes and their vicinity, scientists say that they might be following both of these theories together, and there are many more. The white holes could be following it. White hole is an imaginary concept. Wormhole is an imaginary concept. They might be taking into regard the conciliation of both the quantum physics and the gravitational physics or the classical physics. Okay. Now broadly we have got the 4 types of physics. We've got classical, relativistic, quantum and quantum field theory. On which domain, on which body will it be applied, on which size will it be applied, that completely depends upon the size of that body. So if it's the size, of course the mass and the speed of that body, because Einstein also said that energy is a product of mc square. Okay, mass and the speed of light. So if the speed is less than 3 into 10 raised to the power 8 meter per second, which is the speed of light, then in that case classical mechanics follows. Also, if it is much larger than the scale, which means if it is working at a cosmic level, then classical mechanics would not follow, and instead the theory of relativistic mechanics will follow. Therefore, if we are working at a very large object which is moving at a speed comparable to the speed of light, for example neutron star, those will be following the relativistic mechanics. Similarly for quantum mechanics and similarly for quantum field theory. So what is a QFT? Very important. When you are operating inside a particle which is less than 10 raised to the power 9 meter, but is operating at a speed of far more than or comparable to the speed of light, then that the part of physics which is applicable to those particles or those spaces are known as the QFTs. Fine. Now here is a question. This will also make us acquainted with these 2 new topics, which is the loop quantum gravity. We've just now read about quantum gravity. Now some theories suggest that these quantum gravity, or the phenomena where the quantum gravity physics is collectively upheld correct, those spaces are not uniformly spread across the universe. It is spread in the form of loops. So there might be certain loops in which this theory would be followed, in the other loops it wouldn't be followed, right? So it is not uniformly prevalent. So this theory and the bounce out theory, which means, see, some of the theorists say that eventually the entire universe will collapse down back. But some theory says that this universe would be bouncing out and will never be able to collapse. So both of them, recently seen in news, are used in the context of a black hole, wormhole, white hole and solar eclipse. Now please remember, when I am talking about a black hole is something which is able to squeeze everything towards itself because of the massive gravitational pull. It's not actually the gravitational pull, but it is actually the relativistic mechanics, because it is able to wrap the space-time around it better as compared to the surrounding objects. So obviously, naturally, it's pulling everything towards itself. What are we talking about here? It definitely follows the loop quantum gravity, but the bounce out theory says everything is going apart, moving apart again and again, more and more, farther and farther. So this stands correct for a white hole. And please also remember that while we know that some spaces around in the vicinity of the black hole might be following the quantum gravity, it is not declared conceptually yet. So it is only theoretical. So we also are looking for something which is theoretical in nature. Black hole is not theoretical. It is a practical thing. We have already seen it. So it is followed in the case of white hole. You should also remember that these 2 theories will also work in the favor of wormhole. Okay, so these 2 are the correct answers. Fine, solar eclipse you would eliminate. Now, let's move on to another topic, a very interesting one, a very important one. See, do you know that we have got GPAI, which is Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence? It contains a working principles as to how to operate the artificial intelligence applications across the world and how to bring a consensus on artificial intelligence-based ethics. Fine. Then, what do we have? We have the AI Act of European Union. Then, we have got the AI Pact between the G7 nations. Can you recall one more? Because we have read it in the recitals previously. Another one is the Bletchley Declaration. The Bletchley Declaration, again talking about bringing a consensus in utilizing AI and making it more accessible, affordable and available for all the geographies. So Bletchley Declaration is also related with the use of AI. What is the similarity between all of them? Similarity is this: not only they are working to bring a consensus on AI guidelines, but also all of them are not legally binding. So what is the need of the hour is to create something which is legally binding in nature, which could bring more substance into our provisions of using an ethical AI, right? That is why recently the stalwart of new innovations, which is EU. That is why in most of your prelims questions, whenever you see a new innovation being made on, let's say, the emerging technologies, or in the field of climate change, in the field of making the environment more greener, EU is a stalwart. So EU has again come into fore. So EU along with United Kingdoms, and this along with USA. These three giants have come together to create world's first legally binding AI treaty. Now, the official name of this AI treaty is not formalized yet, but you should be knowing that something like this is going on. So in the way forward of your artificial intelligence answer in GST, you should be quoting them. Now, see, one more thing I want to highlight is what would be the name that you will be calling it? While it is having a very huge name, so don't really need to remember everything, but it's broadly the Europe's framework. Europe's framework for artificial intelligence. Please remember the keywords. Human rights. Because what happens is certain applications of artificial intelligence could come with a conflict, could come under a conflict with the human right violation. So which one to prioritize, that is very clearly declared by this AI treaty. Okay, and then democracy and rule of law. Fine. So these are actually the areas in which this AI treaty is going to work, and this is the entire name of this particular treaty. How you would be naming it in your mains answer, it's just a legally binding Europe's framework for AI and human rights. Okay, so what it intends to do, naturally it intends to prioritize the human rights over the implications of the use of AI everywhere and anywhere. It also ensures the wide-scale accessibility of the AI-derived products. So let's say there's a creation of ChatGPT, which is AI-driven software. Now this has to be uniformly accessed by all the democracies, all the countries alike, because we know the transformative power of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is it's that branch of computer science which intends to mimic the human intelligence, under which comes a lot of things. For example, the Internet of Things. For example, we have got the generative pre-trained transformers. There is a narrow AI, there's a deep AI, there's artificial general intelligence, also different branches of AI are there. So we have to ensure that all these AIs, while they can transform the economies, the benefits of them should be equitably available for all the countries. But currently, not all countries are open for signing this. Currently, the countries working on it is EU, UK and USA. Okay, so what about India? India currently as of now is not party to it, but India is a party to the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. Okay, so this is about world's first legally binding treaty on artificial intelligence. Now the next topic. Have you ever seen the South Pole of Mercury? Well, no one ever did before 2024. That is when a project named BepiColombo, the spacecraft, gave us the first clear pictures of the South Pole of Mercury. Has it already arrived into the orbit of Mercury? No. It is supposed, the BepiColombo spacecraft is supposed, this project that was launched in 2018. So the launch year is 2018. Since then, it has been traveling towards the trajectory, towards the orbit of Mercury. So we will be reading about the planet Mercury as well, and how is it very unique in nature, what are the similarities and differences with respect to that of Earth. And coming back to this, it is supposed to enter into the orbit of Mercury in the year 2025. So for now, what it has achieved is giving us a clearer image of the South Pole of Mercury. Is this the first mission that has been to the planet Mercury? No. So please remember that there were two other missions. One was the Mariner, and the second one was mission or spacecraft messenger. Both of them were launched by the collaboration of NASA and European Space Agency. What were the achievements of Mariner? For the first time, we got to know and we got to see the close-up images of Mercury with the help of Mariner. In which year was it launched? In the year 1974 it was launched. And the messenger mission gave us this very unique information that I shall be telling you. And this is about the percentage, or this is about basically the structure, revelation of the very unique structure of Mercury. Now talking about this unique planet, why hasn't it been discovered, and now why are we curious towards discovering it? So unlike the all other planets in the solar system, Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. It is the closest planet to the sun. So we all know the order broadly on the basis of composition and structure. The planets are divided into terrestrial planets, which is separated by, I hope you can see the board, which is separated by an asteroid belt full of asteroids. And then we move towards the Jovian planets. Here the composition is not having the rocks but only having the gas. So these are the gaseous planets, also known as the gas giants or the Jovian planets. Fine. So these are So what are these planets? It is Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars. We already have got a lot of missions in Mars. India also has got a mission in Mars, which is Mangalyaan. India is now trying to expedite into Venus as well with the help of Shukrayaan mission. Okay, India has not till yet moved to discovering Mercury, but it is only an endeavor of NASA and ESA till now. And now the Japan Space Agency is also getting involved into it. Why? Because this project BepiColombo. So Colombo was the name of the great scientist belonging to Italy, and Bepi was his nickname. So BepiColombo mission initially was taken up by the European Space Agency, and now it is also supported by the Japanese Space Agency. So it's an endeavor, a collective endeavor of these two very important space agencies of the world. Now, moving you back towards the division between the terrestrial and the Jovian planets. The Jovian planets are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. Is Pluto a planet? Not anymore. And these two are divided by asteroid belt. Okay. So, I can see that the closest to the sun is Mercury. And still, if I ask you, so which of them is the hottest planet in the solar system? It is not Mercury, despite being closest to the sun, because there are two determinants which determines the overall temperature of a planet. We've already seen that in the previous recitals as to how the heat budget of the earth, the outgoing terrestrial radiations also determine to the biggest extent the overall temperature of the earth and not the incoming solar radiation, right? So it's not just the exposure to the sun but also the capability of a planet's atmosphere to trap the radiation inside it. That is determined by the thickness of the atmosphere. In the case of Mercury, there is very little layer of atmosphere. In fact, it could be safe for us to say that it has got no layer of atmosphere except for a very thin layer of exosphere. So in the name of atmosphere, it has only got exosphere with some tiny strains of gases which are yet to be explored. So we are about to discover this as well. Is it a terrestrial one? Is it a terrestrial planet or a Jovian planet? It is a terrestrial planet. So we will also be curious to understand its structure. And we already know that this is a very unique planet which has got 85% of its structure in its core itself. And then the other part of 15% is made up of mantle and the crust. So how this formation has been created by the universe, and how is this very unique? Why? Because when it comes to Earth, less than 15% of its total structure is contributed by the size of the core. In the case of this particular one, it might be said that it is also smaller in size because of a very heavy core. Very heavy core which is taking the huge chunk of its percentage. Okay. Mercury is not the hottest but the second hottest planet in the solar system after Venus. The reason behind this is Venus has got an atmosphere around it which is able to trap the outgoing terrestrial radiations. Always remember, the temperature of a planet is always determined by the outgoing infrared terrestrial radiation and how much of them are trapped by the greenhouse gases surrounding it. Because Mercury is devoid of gases, it is not able to trap it so much. Therefore, it is the second hottest and not the hottest despite being closest to the sun. So to discover more about its structure, there is a mission deployed by ESA and JAXA, which is BepiColombo mission. You must also remember, friends, what are Mariner and Messenger missions all about. So these three missions so far are dedicated for discovering the planet Mercury. Now a question for you. What is Voyager mission launched for? Voyager mission launched for. What is it trying to discover? This is a question that I expect you to know. So I should be very happy if you could put the answer in the comment section. Okay. So if we are clear on this topic, can we now move to the next one? Now, because of its growing demand and applications in the future technologies, we have got a very unique compound to be manufactured in India. We previously were lacking any kind of manufacturing facility, and this particular compound, silicon carbide, is in news because for the first time we have created a manufacturing unit for silicon carbide in the state of Odisha. So please remember this is an important current affairs. Talking about this compound is also known as the world's second hardest compound after diamond. So think about its resilience. So this is known to be one of the most resilient compounds. How? Let us analyze. Let's check its thermal resistance. It can sustain a temperature surprisingly of up to 2700 degrees centigrade. Just imagine. The second resistance it has got in the terms of physical resistance, which means it cannot be abrased or it cannot be corroded easily. So it is non-abrasive in nature. When I'm saying it is non-abrasive, it could be used in materials or it could be used in applications, for example, creating a tile or creating a flooring or creating anything which we require to be completely non-abrasive so that even the huge metal or machine installations can be put into it. In fact, some of the machines could also be created using this compound. Next is its chemical resistance. So it is also chemically resistant, therefore could be used in creating the containers of some of the most corrosive chemicals, because it is not, for example, the HCl, for example, H2SO4 and even more upcoming corrosive metals. And not only that, it can also be used in nuclear power plants. It can be used for containing corrosive chemicals. So it can be used in chemical industry and more so it can be used in industrial purposes. Next is its electrical properties, and this one is the most important factor. Why? Despite having all these resistances, it showcases one exceptional feature which, when put along with these features, makes it an excellent use for the upcoming future technologies. Okay, so the electrical properties are that it is an excellent semiconductor. Why? Tell me why? Because it is using something which is a silicon, but it is augmented by carbide, which provides it better augmented properties like these. And not to forget, it is also non-brittle, so therefore it has got high tensile strength, which means it can carry off more load per unit area. Therefore, it can be used in some of the aeronautical spacecraft or creating rockets, etc. So, or creating aeroplanes. So, it also has got high tensile strength. And for electrical properties, it can be used in the semiconductor revolution that is going on in the world and can bring a revolution altogether because of the other properties, because it is an excellent semiconductor, which means at a given point in time, at a given voltage, it can act as insulator. At a given another voltage, it can act as a conductor. So what is a semiconductor? A material which is able to act as a conductor and an insulator under different situations. Okay. So this is a semiconductor. Now silicon carbide has got another name, which is carborundum. Why am I telling you this? Because might be in the examination you will be made to answer a question on carborundum and not silicon carbide. So in the lack of clarity, you might not be, despite reading so much about it, you might be lacking the information base. So you must know that carborundum is another name of silicon carbide. Where do we find huge amount of silica? Generally in sands and in the coastal sands. One more unique feature is it might be a very transparent material also. Why? Because it is also resistant to wavelengths, which means it allows the temperature, it is transparent to wavelength. It is transparent to wavelength, which means this material allows the wavelength of any kind, especially the infrared and the UV radiations, to pass directly through them without obstructing it. So, it is also transparent unless and until it is doped with some other impurities. Okay, so it has also got transparency towards specifically the UV rays and the ultraviolet and the IR rays. Okay, so this is about silicon carbide, the new material of future, because of its many applications across the different industries. Fine. Moving to the next topic. Now the next topic is another upcoming emerging technology, neuromorphic computing technology. Now we know that there are various and several emerging branches of the computer sciences. The latest one that you know is that which is trying to mimic the human intelligence, which is artificial intelligence, right? If it is able to unique the broader aspects of human intelligence, and that technology is known as artificial general intelligence. But intelligence is just a byproduct of how our brain works. Our brain is able to do a lot many activities more than just performing intelligence. For example, we are able to do parallel processing. So the moment I'm teaching you, I'm also speaking, I'm also using my gestures, I'm also able to process my brain side by side. So I'm able to do a lot of multitasking parallelly. That is also one of the advantages of having a human brain, a brain as advanced as human brain. So the best form of results, the fastest and the most cost effective kinds of result would come out if I can create a computer which mimics the human brain completely. And that, my dear friends, is known as the neuromorphic computer technology. Neuromorphology itself means it's something which has got a structure or a morphology of our neural network or of our brain. So how are we going to put it into reality? So we know that our brain is made up of neurons connected by axons, and these different neurons share signals between each other not by having direct contact but by sending certain electrical impulses. These electrical impulses are known as synapses. So not just we have got an organic neural network, but we have also got an electrical network. We have also got an electrical neural network. And that's exactly something that they are going to now utilize in creating computers. So what are we attempting to do? We are going to attempt creation or mimicking of human brain in the form of computer. So the branch of computer science which attempts to do this is known as NCT, or neuromorphic computing technology. How will they do it? Our neural networks, our organic neural networks are made up of neurons. So we will be able to mimic this with the help of silicon or silicon nerves. So these silicon wires or these silicon nerves will be used to create these neurons, and then they will be connected. They will be connected to other neurons with the help of electrical signals. So these electrical signals function on neural spiking, which means the moment one neural cell receives an electrical spike, this one has received an electrical spike, it will attain this information and then it will pass on to the next one using another voltage spike. So we are going to also work on the principle of voltage spiking. This will help us to perform various targets or various tasks together, because please remember, human intelligence is just a byproduct of the functioning of the brain. Brain could perform a lot many, in fact thousands, millions of many other tasks as well. To put all of them into one place and to ensure that our computer is a multitasker computer able to process gazillion tons of data within seconds, we would require first of all the quantum technology. But quantum technology has a lot of implications as well, because the maintenance of quantum computer is another task in itself. It is sensitive to temperature, sensitive to light also, sensitive to dust also. So a tiny error could make errors in the entire results. So therefore it requires a lot of maintenance. On the other hand, if you create something like a human brain, then not only it will be cost effective, it would require lesser maintenance, would be able to perform equivalent tasks to that of a quantum computer. Okay. Which makes me ask another question to you. What is quantum supremacy? What is quantum supremacy, and has any computer in the world achieved quantum supremacy yet? So think about it and try to answer. Okay. So we have talked about neuromorphic computing technology, what it intends to do, what are the components that we are going to utilize. Now, when we start using our analytical brain, we will be able to put linkages between multiple topics. In the previous topic, we have learnt about silicon carbide and how it has got more superior features as compared to plain silicon, right? In the case of building these computers also, to make them more resistant towards the external forces like temperature, pressure, heat, or the neural or the signal disruption. In that case, instead of using silicon, we can also utilize silicon carbide. This will give better protection to this entire new computer that we are intending to create. Fine. Now we shall be looking from mains point of view, the characteristics and the application of this new emerging technology. So first characteristic, think about it. It will be able to do parallel processing, which means it will be able to perform multiple tasks at the same time with higher speed, by taking lesser energy. So it will be able to do parallel processing just like human brain. Okay, this parallel processing is also possible in the case of quantum computing. But think about one of the applications of artificial intelligence, if you may. Think about, let's say, ChatGPT or the Google Gemini. They are able to process things but one at a time, or maximum 2 to 3 at a time, not multiple things. Therefore, what we require is something that is able to do multitasking. Okay. The second one, something that is able to learn by itself. So learn through adaptivity. Now this it does with the help of synaptic plasticity. Synaptic plasticity. So what happens in our brain is, we have not learned anything from the birth itself. We learn it through the measures of rewards or punishment. Let's say by touching a hot pan, my hand is getting burned very often. So what I will learn? I will eventually learn that I have to avoid touching that pan. Or maybe something which is giving me reward. For example, teaching you is giving me happiness. So I will do it more often. So this is how my brain learns to adapt to certain behaviors and habits and to reject certain others. So what I am doing? I am a growing person. I am a learning person. So the best thing for this particular computer would be having its ability to learn to adapt itself without proper coding that has to be given in ordinarily conventional computers. So it is learnable and it is adaptive. The second thing is, it is resource effective. Resources like, it does my work in quicker time and lesser time. It performs my work in lesser speed, And since it does not require a lot of maintenance, so it is also requiring low monetary resources for maintenance, it requires lesser maintenance, and then it also is effectively cost neutral. So it is cost effective for me as well, as contrary to something which performs similar function, quantum computing. So the leverage it has over quantum computing is that it performs better than the current artificial intelligence architecture, but at the same time it is more cost effective as compared to quantum computers. Fine. Now talking about the application, since I am having all these characteristics, it will be able to leverage AI to the next level. So now the intelligence, or what are we trying to eye for? We are trying to create artificial general intelligence, which is going to be the biggest breakthrough that can be brought by the Industrial Revolution 4.0 here. The computer will be able to do everything. All the kinds of intelligence inside the human brain can be replicated in almost reduced errors or with high accuracies in the case of artificial general intelligence, right? It will be able to put the application of artificial neural networks that we are trying to create. So once we create this computing technology, we will also be successful in creating and achieving the core application of artificial neural networks. Fine. And these neurons, these neural networks will be created by which component? By silicon, or even better by silicon carbide. Basically any semiconductor. Next is, it would be best utilized in the form of a robot's brain. Robot brain which will be able to showcase much higher degree of human intelligence, will be able to do multitasking, will be requiring lesser electricity. Lesser electricity will be created in cheaper costs as well. So it can be used in robotics, which will be able to take certain natural decisions. It will help in natural working of robots. Okay, without requirement of coding every time. The second thing is its requirement in real-time sensory recognition. For example, in the image sensors or in the voice recognition systems that we are repeatedly using this time to enhance the automation and to replace the human intervention to make it more errorless, we see a lot of biases happening. Biases because of the kind of data that is fed. Not only is this computing technology able to process huge amount of data within itself as compared to the existing artificial intelligence technology, but at the same time, it is also able to create real-time data, real-time recognition of almost all the senses. So, the functioning of Internet of Things, a question that was asked in the PYQ of I think the year 2019. So, IoT is going to see the brightest future if it is augmented with neuromorphic computing technology. Coming to IoT, IoT also utilizes the edge computing. Edge computing is something which increases the processing speed of data that is coming through all the direction. Why? See, it is an art. What is edge computing? Let me teach you that first. So this is not as such a software, but it is an architectural network. Okay, so let's say we have got one sensor in your classroom. We have got another sensor in your library. We have got another sensor in your study table. We have got another sensor in your hometown. And your parent wants to see how much is my child, how much is my ward able to consume the studies, how much is he really studying in real time. So sensor 1 will give a data, sensor 2 will give another data, sensor 3 will provide another data at different times in sensor 4, and so on and so forth. There could be millions of sensors on board. The problem is there is huge amount of data that is being processed from your side, because you are moving from here to here, then here, sometimes to some chai wala bhaiya, sometimes to some other shop, and then you are moving somewhere else. So in order to track the entire data or sensor from all the data, there is a requirement of data processing center. Now, in ordinary cases, the data processing should be stored or should be located near the source only. It should be somewhere, the server should be somewhere in the Vajiram complex only. But your parent wants to process it in your hometown or near to your hometown. That could be made possible with the help of edge computing. Where? Can you see this network architecture? In one of the edges, there is a processor or there is a server which allows the data processing of all of them at a larger scale. Because otherwise, if I am installing one sensor over here, one data processing center over here, then it might not be creating that much quick data with respect to the farthest point, that is S4. So edge computing allows one to create data processing center at the periphery to allow high degree of processing. This will be further upgraded if this processor is nothing but a human brain, because human brain is able to analyze different kinds of data coming from different sources, process them parallelly and give out results in quicker time, right? So it is also helpful in edge computing, which also requires the application of IoT, correct? Now, let's move to the next topic. I hope this one is clear to you. Now, our next topic is about the diversion of the use of phosphoric acid from Indian agriculture towards the semiconductor industry, in particularly the electric vehicle industries. And why is that a cause of concern for the farmer? That has been highlighted recently in one of the articles of the Hindu. So we are taking up this phosphoric acid. Now, as you can see that it's an acid. So what is the composition of an acid? It is, this particular acid has the composition of H3PO4. This is phosphoric acid. So what is the prominent element that we get from here? It is the phosphorus. What are the applications of phosphorus? First of all, it is one of the main fertilizer. It is one of the main macronutrients that are used in Indian agriculture along with nitrogen and potassium. So it is utilized in this. Then it is also utilized in the lithium ion batteries. It is also used in lithium ion batteries as the solvent which keeps these batteries alive. Okay. The next one is in metal treatment. So what happens is, generally this element, the phosphoric acid specifically, it acts as a non-corrosive, or it actually is something which removes the dust. It removes the rust or the corrosion of the metals. So it is also used as a metal cleaning agent. Now, specifically that it provides phosphorus to us. Therefore, it is significantly used in DAP, diammonium phosphate, which is the second largest used fertilizer in India after what? Which is the first largest used fertilizer in India? It is urea, which primarily gives us good amount of nitrogen. But the one which provides us ammonia, that is nitrogen, along with phosphate, is DAP. In creation of phosphate, we require good amounts of phosphoric acid. Now, why is this a problem? Why is this phosphoric acid being utilized in the electric? Now, why is it utilized in electric vehicles? Because it is useful in lithium ion batteries, which are the main drivers of the electric vehicles. Okay, so why is it a problem that if it is getting used over here, it is going to compromise the creation of DAP? Because of its limited availability. So please have a look into it. When I talk about this particular acid, we will look into some other applications as well. But first, let's check how it is already scarce in India. Phosphoric acid is not something naturally occurring in the nature. Also, please remember, phosphoric acid is a weak acid, which means it dissociates lesser number of H+ ions, lesser reactive as compared to some of the strong acids. What are strong acids? Which dissipates their hydrogen ions at faster rate. For example, hydrochloric acid, for example, hydro or the sulfuric acid, H2SO4, hydrogen sulfate. Okay, so these two are the strong acids, whereas phosphoric acid is a weak acid. This will also give us other various applications, which we will be discussing shortly. But first I want to tell you the scenario of the availability of phosphoric acid in India. As we know that it is synthetic in nature, which means it is not naturally available in the nature. It is synthetically available and it is created from the phosphate rocks. What is the source of creating it? The phosphate rocks. Where are the phosphate rocks available in India? Think about it. There are only 2 states which have got good amount of phosphate rocks which can be exploited on an economic level. These two are Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh only. Only 2 states are there which gives us the phosphate rock, and then therefore we can convert it into the phosphoric acid. And till now, whatever phosphoric acid was getting used, we used to use it in DAP only. There were various other uses as well, but we primarily used to divert it for the creation of DAP because it is very helpful for our farmer friends. But now it is heavily getting utilized in the and diverted for the electric vehicle industry as well. Okay, why? Because it is getting used in lithium ion batteries, so that could be a cause of concern. Then what do we need to do? We need to, when we are already deficient in phosphate rocks, then what do? We become import dependent on some of the African and the European nations, for example, Tunisia, etc. So we are importing it. We become import dependent. This also increases our import bills. Therefore, there is a cause of concern. Fine. This is about why is it a cause of concern? What are the applications? But when I was talking about the application, I already told you, I shall be telling you some of the applications of this phosphoric acid because of its property that it is a weak acid. Now, because it is a weak acid, therefore, it is also available for metal treatment. Metal treatment, because the moment you put it in a rusted metal, the rust part gets attracted or absorbed by the phosphoric acid, and you see the fresh metal in front of you. So it is a rust remover. That is one. Second is that it is also water purifier. Water could get contaminated or impure by calcium carbonates. Calcium carbonate is a base. When this is added with a weak acid, see, the thing is, you cannot add a strong acid directly into water. It will burn and it will blast the water. Therefore, is the requirement of weak acid in the use of water purification. The moment you add a weak base with a strong, weak acid with a weak base, you will get a neutral compound. Therefore, it neutralizes the water, causes water purification. Second, it is also used in your cold drinks, in your soft drinks, as acidity regulator. So in order to add the tangy taste to any Coke or any cold drink, there is the application of acidity or application of some kind of acid. Then they also add the acidity regulator because good amount of acidity could also erode the stomach linings. Okay, because the pH of our stomach is already on the acidic side, because it has got good amount of HCl, which is hydrochloric acid, which is a strong acid. So we wouldn't require to add more acid into it. So what is required to neutralize that acid? It is H3POH, which is also, despite being a weak acid, it is a acidity regulator. Okay, then it can also act as, because it's an acid, it also acts as an ion exchange, excellent ion exchange medium. Therefore, in the batteries, you will have one anode, you will have one cathode, and what you will have, a catalyst or a solvent in between. So in the case of lithium ion batteries, it is the phosphoric acid only. Fine. So I hope we have understood the application, phosphoric acid. Why is it a cause of concern for the Indian farmers? Where is it getting used? What is the amount of availability of this acid in India? How does it also contribute to enhancing our import bills? So we have already looked into that. Now moving on to the next topic. Now this one is a very interesting and a cute topic. So this is about Minimoon. Okay. So what recently is happening is that Earth is about to capture an asteroid inside its gravity, inside its orbit for some time, only for a time being. And this topic is about not the moons but the asteroids. So sometimes asteroids or meteoroids gets captured, extra Earth objects gets captured inside the orbit of the Earth, just like the moon, and not in the same orbit as that of moon, but in some other orbit, stays there for some time and then goes away, escapes the gravity of the Earth. Okay, so for a short time, if an asteroid is surrounding the Earth, which means it is captured inside the orbit with the pull of gravity of the Earth, then these asteroids are known as mini-moons. The mini-moon that is going to come in 2025 as predicted by NASA's Atlas program. NASA's Atlas program, which is the full form of Asteroid Terrestrial Impact which means the impact a potentially hitting terrestrial could make on the Earth. Because the last time when an asteroid hit us, we knew that the entire footprint of dinosaurs were removed off the Earth. That is the impact, and the Earth also took a lot of time for showing the recovering signs. So therefore, that is the possible implication of an asteroid attack on us. So to gauge the asteroid terrestrial impact as the last alert system, a mission that is deployed by NASA has recently captured the potentiality of PT5 2024. This is the naming of this possible asteroid which could come into. This is the Earth which could come into our orbit and will be surrounding us, will be rotating around us for quite a little bit of time before it deorbits itself. Now, why is it named as PT5? We understood that it is going to happen in 2024. That is why 2024 is written. Why PT5? Because 4 more previous instances have been recorded where the asteroids were captured by the Earth's gravitational pull. They were orbiting around us and now they have left us. They are no more there in the Earth's orbit. We are only having the single captured satellite, that is Moon. Of course, they are known as mini moons because they are not of comparable size with regards to Moon. They are in fact much smaller than the Moon, so they are just asteroids. Where are the asteroids coming from? Asteroids are the rocky, massy objects that come from the asteroid belt. And where is asteroid belt located? We have learned previously that they are located between the terrestrial planets, transition zone between the terrestrial planets and the Jovian planets, in particularly between Mars and Jupiter. So this is the asteroid belt from where all the asteroids come off. Then what is an asteroid? What's a meteoroid? What's a meteoroid and meteor? Okay. So if an asteroid gets further broken away because of the gravitational pull, and it gets attracted at a very high speed inside the Earth, so much so that it appears that it's about to hit the Earth, then that broken off asteroid is known as a meteoroid. Meteoroid. These distinctions are important because they get asked in the prelims examination. It has been a PYQ as well. Then when it enters into the Earth atmosphere and starts burning, then it is known as a meteor. So when we say something that this is a shooting star or it's a toota hua tara, it is nothing but meteors only. Generally what happens, we say it's a toota hua tara, which means it's burning off. So generally most of the meteoroids, when it hits the Earth's atmosphere, because of the extensive heat and friction which is given to them by the Earth atmosphere, they burn off completely. Okay, so they never actually happen to reach the surface of the Earth. But if at all it's possible that one of the meteor could reach, despite getting burned, could reach and could make a landfall on the surface of the Earth, then it is known as meteoroid. Okay, so these are about some of the extra early objects. Now the next one is the announcement of creation of a new center of excellence. Just like how we have got our NITs, the IITs and the IIMs, these are the centers of educational excellence, academic excellence. Similarly, as we know that the content economy is the new growing king, which means the content economy is something that now we are trying to reap into by creating a center of excellence by the name of Indian Institute of Immersive Research, Immersive Creators, IIIC. This is going to be based in the center of content creators, which is Mumbai. Okay, this will help us to indigenize and make us the global hub of content creator, because this is one of a kind institute that has been created anywhere across the world. So we've got only few of them, and one of them being prominently now created in Mumbai. Okay, so this is to reap into the creators economy. We know that a lot of people have gained employment. In fact, self-employment, were able to self-sustain themselves, were able to, change their economic status with the help of content creation, be it on Instagram, any social media platform, or YouTube. There were so many bloggers. In fact, the generation of bloggers and vloggers have come up now. So all of them are trying to give us what? content. So to make them more learned with regards to content, to enable them to perform more R&D on it, to bring them in close, a vicinity with the market, and to also enable foreign investment into their skill development, and to ensure that they are also getting jobs at the right time when they get graduated, we have developed the IIEC. So this is for the creators economy of India, so that India becomes a global hub for content, because content is the king. Now, we've got another scheme for putting an impetus towards biotechnology related manufacturing, innovation and processing in India. This is with the name of BioRide scheme. So in the first topic, we've read about the Bio E3 policy. Bio E3 policy, which also aims to provide biotechnology applications in the different domains of economy, environment and employment. Now we have got another scheme which promotes the R&D, which promotes research and development. So the name for RIDE scheme is Research for Innovation. Research for Innovation. Please remember these keywords. Then, and entrepreneurship development. Entrepreneurship development. So to utilize biotechnological applications in the fields of innovation, in the field of biomanufacturing and in the field of entrepreneurship, this particular scheme has been highlighted by the government recently, especially by the Department of Science and Technology. Now please remember that it aims to create India as a global hub for manufacturing or for creating biotechnology based startups, because entrepreneurship development, and to support innovation by providing them, how to support innovation? By providing them funding, seed funds, capital funds, venture funding. Then by providing them incubators. Can you name an incubator that is currently functioning at large scale in India? Utter Tinkering Labs. Okay. And then providing them market exposure. Now with the help of this, what are we aiming? Please remember that Government of India has tried to put a lot of impetus in growing biotechnology in India, specifically restricted not just to the field of science or medical science or products regarding the same. We are here to put biotechnology use in different parts of our industries, in the parts of our manufacturing, in the parts of startups. Why? Because we are aiming to create a biotechnology based market worth $300 billion. And this aim has to be achieved by 2030. So whenever you have to answer a question on biotechnology in GS paper 3, these are some of the schemes that you need to quote and the government's vision that we need to quote. Fine. Now students, our next topic is a very important development which is being made by the India's premier space agency ISRO. This is the creation of the futuristic Bhartiya Antariksh station, short form of BAS. Okay. So recently, why this has been in news is because the scope of Gaganyaan mission, please listen to it very carefully. The scope of our first human space flight mission that was launched back in 2018 in the name of Gaganyaan mission has been extended now by the Union Cabinet by allotting it more amount of funds. So previously, it has got the fund of 12,000 crore rupees, has now been extended to 20,000 crore rupees allocation, because one new module now has been added into the Gaganyaan mission, which is to create our own Antariksh station or our own space station, indigenized space station, which will be named as the Bhartiya Antariksh station. Before entering into it, we will realize two things. What is the Gaganyaan mission? What was the existing scope of Gaganyaan mission? And then how do we feel the need of creating our own indigenized space station? To begin with the concepts first, we will talk about the Gaganyaan mission. As the name suggests, we're about to take a venture into the Gagan, which is space. In which part of the space? In the low Earth orbit, which is somewhere about 4,000 kilometers away from the sea surface of the Earth. Okay, so we were about to locate or place our spacecraft in this part of the space. Now, this was a unique mission because this was the first ever human-based or human spacecraft mission. So we were also for the first time endeavoring to launch the spacecraft which is carrying humans known as Gagannauts. So 3 to 4 Gagannauts will be going. So there were certain conditions created, certain modules, or which we call as a support system. Supporting modules were created. Supporting modules and technology, okay, were created to support the Gaganyauts, and before they could be launched into the space, for ensuring their safety, we will be taking Vyomitra, which is the humanoid bot, which will be tested beforehand. Now, what were the modules in Gaganyaan, in the existing Gaganyaan? First of all, was to create a spacecraft which is human friendly, which could be accommodative of the humans, could carry that much of weight, which can carry not just a human weight but also the infrastructure required to support their survival in the space. So, to create a human friendly launching vehicle, the name was LVM3. So the GSLV that we were using, GSLV Mark III, the heaviest lifter of ISRO, when it got human friendly as well, then it got to be named as LVM3. Okay. Next, we would like to create a crew escape system in order to abort any kind of exigency or any kind of emergency situation for ensuring the safety of the Gaganyauts. Then their training, facilitating their training. Now for this, we have collaborated with Russian space agency Roscosmos. So they will be provided training in space-like situations. Okay. Then the other was to create a life support system. Where in this LVM3 spacecraft, so that it can provide Earth-like conditions for the human survival out in the space. So this endeavor was going to be for 3 to 4 days, from 3 to 4 days, okay. And then we are not only deploying them in the low Earth orbit, but also bringing them back on Earth. So that will take about 1 week or 7 days of time altogether, 7 to 8 days of time in the entire endeavor. This project was launched in the year 2018. Now, what all do you know about Gaganyaan? What it intends to do? What are the technologies it is creating? Is it getting lifted by a PSLV or a GSLV? Where exactly are we deploying the spacecraft that we have learned? Now, the problem with Gaganyaan mission is that we are still dependent on foreign technology. For training, we are dependent on Roscosmos. Then because we have got machine related or technical constraint as well, so that we can only survive our mission for up to 3 to 4 days or maximum 8 days. But this is not enough for carrying a sustainable human spaceflight mission. In order to make it more sustainable, we need to become more independent so that we have our own space stations in the low Earth orbit. So therefore came the need of creating an indigenous space station where further experiments specially related to or under the microgravity conditions can be created. Because even if we deploy the life support system in the spacecraft, it is still will never be able to forego the microgravity, the wear and tear of the tissues and the body's muscles and how body responds in the space. That can only be achieved once we are genuinely in the space for a longer period of time. And in order to create a sustainable research again, we need to be in the space for again a longer period of time. So in order to ensure that now the astronauts could go up to space and be there for about 15 to 30 days, we will be requiring our own indigenous space station. Therefore, we will be creating Bhartiya Antariksh station. The first module of Bhartiya Antariksh station and the related technologies will be starting off from this year itself, because they have got the union budget approval. But the target for launching is, the target of completion of the first module is in 2028, which is 10 years after the launch of Gaganyaan mission. Not the launch actually, but the proposal, but the when the Gaganyaan mission actually come off and was revealed. And then in 2035, we will finally operationalize our Bhartiya Antariksh station. Again, where will we operationalize it? In which part of the space? In the low Earth orbit, about 350 to 400 kilometers away from the or above the Earth's surface. Now, do we have any previous existing space stations for carrying out research and development in the space or not? Yes. This was also in news because of Sunita Williams and the fellow astronauts who were stuck in the space. So let's look into the other space stations who have been there. So the first ever space station or the Skylab that was created ever by the mankind was in the year of 1971, and that too by the erstwhile Soviet Union. So the first ever space station made by humans was named as Salyut. It was created by Roscosmos. Then came USA. So USA, with its high-end technologies, created Skylabs, followed by Roscosmos. So this was done by NASA, again in 1970s only. Now come a joint collaboration, because they were having a short lifespan. So now comes a joint collaboration between 5 major countries. These 5 major countries: NASA, let's talk about the space agencies only. NASA, European Space Agency, Canadian Space Agency, Japan Space Agency, and the Russian Space Agency. So what is the name of this still working or operational space station? It is the very famous ISS. International Space Station. Please remember, it is not created by one particular country's space agency, but a collaboration between 5 countries' space agencies. India part of it? No. Can India utilize the services of ISS? Not as of yet. Therefore, we are creating our own mission name as Gaganyaan, and then we are going to create our own indigenous space station over there. Is there any other country which has endeavored to create its standalone space station? Yes, it is China. So we have got Tiangong Space Station, which was initially created in 2001 and operationalized under various stages by 2021. That's not important, but Tiangong of China is also an indigenous space station of China. Next one, a private space station. Do we also have that? Yes. A private space station from US is going to be launched in the name of Axiom Space Station. This is going to be world's first private agency based space station. Then another very important fact: what is a gateway mission? What is a gateway mission? This is also a space station that the US or the NASA is trying to create. It is led by NASA along with various other space agencies. It's still in its nascent stage, but this is under the overall Artemis mission to explore and to conduct researches on the moon's atmosphere and moon surface. So the Gateway mission is the international space station created on moon's orbit. So it will be created on moon's orbit. Now please remember, how many of them are functional as of now? Only 2. ISS and Tiangong are functional right now. Axiom Gateway will be operational in some time in future, and these 2, the Salyut and the Skylabs, are unoperational. Okay, and now we are going to come up with Bhartiya Space Station, God willingly, by 2035. Now the next topic is about a very good news, a very positive news coming for India in the Global Cybersecurity Index of 2024. So this has put India, despite having seen a lot of cyber attacks in the past and also in this particular year, we have analyzed cybersecurity many times in the analyst program of Vajiram. But surprisingly, the International Telecom Union has awarded us the status of Tier 1 country with a score of more than 98.94 marks out of 100. That makes us Tier 1. That makes us a global example for cyber security. So we have been accorded the Tier 1 status when it comes to cyber security. So think about the cyber security that is going on in the other countries. If we have got the Tier 1 status, despite seeing a lot of attacks, and think about the other ones. In this particular topic, we will be looking into the government schemes which could have made it possible. What is cybersecurity? What are the different types of cyber crimes? So first of all, let's understand about the basic institution's name that is given over here, which is International Telecommunication Union, ITU. Now, ITU initially was formed in 1865. And at that time, there was nothing like a telecom, so it was named as International Telegraph Union. India has been a member of ITU since 1869, a very important fact to remember. Where is it located? Its headquarters is located in Geneva, Switzerland, and ITU publishes reports like Global Cyber Security Index. So, reports are also important. Is it a part of United Nations or not? Yes, it is a specialized agency. It is a specialized United Nations agency. What is it specialized for? To take care of the information and communication related technology, one of the biggest hazards of which is the cyber security or the cyber threats. So therefore, we'll be analyzing cyber security into much greater details now. Now students, when we are reading about the cyber security, what is important for us from UPSC point of view is to analyze the cyber security scenario in India. What are the ground realities of cyber security and how are we managing to mitigate using some of the governmental interventions. Let me bring the next slide for you now. First of all, we have to understand that it is us and our awareness which is going to be the second defense mechanism after governmental intervention, and the most important one to safeguard ourselves from the cyber crimes. So for that, what is cyber security or what are the cyber attacks? Cyber attacks can be classified into multiple types. We generally feel that an attack in the form of virus or Trojan or malware is the only form of cyber attack that you can do. But no, there are multiple types of cyber attack which could be broadly defined into or classified into two types. The first one. So the first kind of attacks are those which targets the computer, either the software part of the computer or the hardware part of the computer. And the second part and the second classification of cyber attacks is those which uses the computer for instilling psychological or social or economic harm in the economy, and both of them actually comes under the cyber frauds. So if unfortunately you get encountered by either of them, you have to report to the dedicated authorities, which we'll be talking in the later section. So first of all, let's quickly discover what are the cyber attack which targets the computer, the first part of the computer and the most vulnerable one, which is the software. Now, software gets corrupted or targeted through cyber attackers through various means. First of all, and the most famous one is the installation of viruses. For example, the emoted virus in 2020, it encrypted almost all of the important government files of the USA. Virus is something which is not self-replicating. It needs a file, it needs a live source to attach itself. So the moment that file gets corrupted or the moment that file gets downloaded into your computer, it will cause ultimate spread of viruses into your entire software system. This is how the virus enters into the computer and then it replicates. The second one is a self-replicating kind of virus. Now, this is a file folder or a mail which you might have received, upon downloading which eventually the entire system would be corrupted because it will create n number of files in your computer which are corrupted. So these are the worms which are self-replicating in nature. A classic example was the WannaCry ransomware. So this ransomware, when once installed, it entirely blocks your software because it replicates a lot of copies, hampering the functioning of the software. The next is Trojans. Trojans is something which appear to be a software of utility, and you might install it. Let's say there is some astrology prediction chart. You have obtained it, and upon downloading it, you find that it is actually not predicting astrology but multiplicating viruses in your computer. Seemingly correct software but having malicious uses, malicious targets is known as Trojans. Now, if a worm or if a virus is closing or encrypting your computer and you will get the encryption only in lieu of some ransom or money, then those kind of ones are known as economically exploitative viruses or Trojans. These are the ransomwares. For example, the Colonial Pipeline ransomware, the WannaCry ransomware, they used to demand hefty amount of money in order for you to get the access of your important information. Next is spyware. If the agenda of the virus is to monitor the activities of your computer, specifically used by the intelligence agencies, by the spies, this is spyware. Very famous one, the Pegasus software, which is installed in the Apple softwares. So this is a spyware. Next is the bot attacks. So whenever you open, let's say the website of any coaching institute, you open the website of Myntra, Amazon, etc. There is somebody who's talking to you. It doesn't have human intervention, but what it is a chat bot. So similarly, nowadays, in the era of artificial intelligence, we are using a lot of bots. Let's imagine that you have got a bot which produce a link for you. The moment you've clicked that link, your entire software got corrupted. That is known as a bot attack. Now, bot attack could be done in the following forms. When you have clicked the link, it denies the service of your entire computer or that particular website, or let's say a particular important application of your computer. Denial of services happened. So that is DOS attack. This is a kind of bot attack. Second, distributed denial of services attack. I'm not going too much deeper into it in the terms of technology of it. I will say that it is a more decentralized form of denial of service attack. Okay, so many attacks could happen one at a time, controlled by one server. Next is the brute force attack, is when a person is trying to forcibly use a lot of guessworks on the passwords. So trying to enter a lot of password until he finally cracks the password. So this is a brute attack on your encryption, on your passwords to access your file. That is known as a brute force attack. Okay. Next is the physical attack. So sometimes what happens in public spaces, you might be finding some idle charger, or might be finding some USBs or pen drive. You might be collecting it. Now you might be a person of importance for that targeted, for that cyber fraud. So that is why the moment you induct that USB into your system, all of your computer would be now hacked by the host or by the person who wanted to commit fraud on you. This is known as USB dropping. Therefore, this is always advised that one must not be picking the alien USB drives or the USB connectors from public areas, especially from airports, railway places, etc. Okay. Next is impersonation. That somebody impersonated to be one of the agents of the company itself, went on to have a cybersecurity check and instead inducted viruses into it. So all of these are type of cyber frauds only, where the computer is getting targeted. Now, you and me as humans will also be targeted, will also be socially, psychologically, economically, financially manipulated using computer. So this is another kind of cyber fraud. Some of them are cyber stalking, we all know about it, cyber bullying, social engineering, which means persuading us in such a way via message, via email, via phone call. Respectively, it is known as phishing, wishing and smishing. Important terms to remember. So in this way, we will be persuaded to click on the links available in these respective mails or emails or phone calls that we have received, and we will be made to give our information to them. A lot of calls are being made these days to give your loans or repay your loans, otherwise we'll be taking up your investigation, etc. So such threats are nothing but social engineering only. Last but not the least, the data theft issue, which is much more facilitated in the digital environment we have curated. So data theft in the name of identity theft, public data bank theft, the breaches which have already happened in the case of Facebook. Facebook was alleged of giving a lot of data for the political rallies. So all of these uses the computer, and they, my friends, are also considered as cyber attacks, cyber frauds. So then what the Indian government has been doing regarding it? This is very important, since we have been accorded the status of tier 1 country in the Global Cybersecurity Index, which is a great step. And it also showcases that these schemes have been working. We should look out for these schemes specifically. If you will watch out these schemes, you will find the multidimensionality of it, which means, first of all, a scheme for somebody who suspects that they have been cyber frauded. So this is the creation of a portal, a national level portal in the name of National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal of India has been created. So the moment you suspect any kind of attack, any kind of unnecessary activity in your computer, laptops, digital devices, the first thing is to report it on this portal. Now, there is an act which encompasses all the provisions, penalties, safeguard duties, auditing guidelines, etc. for the cybersecurity analyst, for the companies, for the government agencies, for the consumer, to ensure a very robust and comprehensive and secure IT infrastructure and environment in our country. So see, this act is the IT Act of 2000, which gives the legal recognition to the entire cyber activity that is going on and legal recognition to the cyber crimes as well, and then duly providing them penalties. Next is a policy. Now, of course, policy is a vision of the government. It entails a lot of things which could be coming in future as well. Certain type of cyber frauds would be culminating in the future which we might not have conceived of yet, right? So, those are also included in the policy in the name of National Cybersecurity Policy of 2013. It is an all-encompassing policy again, consisting of the vision of the India to create a cyber swachh and cyber safe Bharat. Fine. Next is institutional mechanisms. Now, once I put my complaint into the portal, there has to be a certain institution which has taken action on it. Okay. So, for example, if there is certain disaster, we have got rapid response forces. So, this attack is also a kind of cyber disaster, digital disaster only, right? So, therefore, first of all, CERTAIN was created. CERTAIN is the nodal agency for the response of your complaints that you are putting in National Cybercrime Reporting Agency of India, Reporting Portal of India. Then, there are certain other interventions. For example, you would like your computer to be cleaned, your bots to be cleaned, to make sure that there is, a cleanup on a regular basis. So, where would you go? You will go to the Cyber Swachhata Kendra. They were formed initially in 2017. Very user-friendly interventions. They facilitate the cleaning of the bots, the cleaning of the potential files that could replicate into virus or worms or trojans. Okay. Next is, see, there are multiple, when we talk about the cyber crime, it is not just attacking the digital infrastructure of the country, could also attack the critical infrastructure of the country, which could be a threat on our internal security. For example, critical infrastructure like Kudankulam power plant that got attacked by malware. The Mumbai grid lines, those were also attacked. The Rajasthan power lines, those were also attacked by these malwares only. So it also poses a threat to the national security, which means here comes the role of Ministry of Home Affairs also. Okay, now since it is doing something with our data, so the role of Ministry of Electronics and IT will also come into play, right? So there are multiple other agencies that are involved into functioning, into taking care of our cyber security, and the threat of cyber security have rippling effect on multiple areas of our society and economy. So therefore, what is required? When there are too many coordinating bodies, there needs to be a coordination center as well. Okay, this coordination center is of the name of I4C, Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center. Okay, and last but not the least, the most important, in fact, Ajay Doval sir says that the fourth front of war is the civilians. Why does he say this? Because civilians could be socially engineered and manipulated at very ease, and at the same time, they are the ones who break the existing defense of the country as well. So if we are not aware of the cyber fraud that might happen, or if we are not aware of how to mitigate them, then we will not help the government initiatives as well. To enhance this cyber awareness, what government has done has let down multiple initiatives like Cyber Surakshit Bharat, which avails the awareness and the capacity building of not just the professional like the cyber security analysts, etc., but also of the people in large, right? Going forward, what else can we do about it? See, it is very important for India to safeguard its digital infrastructure, cyber infrastructure, because we are, in the terms of total internet users, we are second in the world, and we are soon to surpass China also. So what do we require? We require specialists which are very less in number right now. We require their proper training, the human resource development, and if they are already trained, we need their upskilling also, because cyber threats are evolving with every year, right? So capacity building is the need of the hour. If we do not have enough number of analysts in the companies, most of our infrastructures would be at the hand of cyber frauds attack, right? Next is to promote research and development to innovate how new forms of cyber safety measures can be installed. Can we create certain better bots? Can we create certain Swachhata Kendras or which are AI led or which are using technologies so that we'll be able to predict whether a particular software is originating from one place, can affect n number of places. So that prediction model can also be created, but it needs time. Okay, we are already poor on R&D, so we need to promote R&D on this area also. Okay, next is we would require international cooperation, because cyber fraud could be done from a country, a person sitting in the Middle East, and he is able to manage, because everything is going wireless, he is able to manage the computers of, let's say, Indians, or manage the computers of, let's say, Bangladeshis. So that is why in order to curb this, we need international cooperation. One such effort has been taken in the name of Budapest Convention. But students, you tell me, is India a party to Budapest Convention? If yes, then that's great. We are already doing international cooperation. But if not, what is the reason that India is adverse towards joining conventions like these? So you should be knowing the answers of this as well, so that you develop an analytical brain as to why India is taking certain decisions. Next is, there should be robust law enforcement. We saw a lot of laws are there. IT laws are there, but most of them are also outdated, because cyber law, as I have told you, are evolving. So we need proper revision in the law enforcement, and moreover, we need surveillance mechanism to ensure there is robust enforcement of the laws. There should be mechanisms how to enforce them. There should be coordination between multiple agencies. I4C is good enough, but not everything. We need to have more coordination, better coordination, right? And then we also have to ensure their proper implementation in spirit. Next is protection of the critical infrastructure. What do we have in place right now? We have got already a National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center. This is specifically dedicated towards securing our critical infra. Critical infra, if they fall out the entire economy of the country. For example, the power grid lines, the nuclear power plants, the defense areas, etc. So there, the security of data, the security of the cyber systems is of utmost important for having a robust national security. So therefore, taking care of critical infrastructure in particular is of dire importance. Okay, I hope you very holistically understand everything about the cybersecurity landscape of India. So, can we move to the next topic now? I think it's an absolute yes. So, this is about Project 200. Now, while this project is not very important from UPSC point of view, but just remember that as we are inviting more private sector into the space, so one such classic example of that happening is through the Project 200. So this is not a movie of Mani Ratnam, but this is actually a spacecraft, a satellite project in which for the first time Bellatrix, which is a private space agency based on Bangalore, Bellatrix Technology is launching this Project 200. What 200 stands for? That it is going to launch its spacecraft, its communication spacecraft, where it's both communication and imaging spacecraft. So it is going to be launched at a very unique height of 200 kilometers. See, we have already seen that whenever we deploy any kind of communication satellite, it is always done at a height of up and above 400 kilometers, because that is when, even though the latency is high, but the communication becomes easier because of the wide outreach of that satellite. At the more height you see, the more vision will be there for the satellite, more area will be covered. But they are preferring to deploy their satellite at 200 kilometers, quoting the following reasons. The first reason is that it will reduce the latency. Now, ma'am, what is latency? Latency is the time delay or the time gap that happens between the origin source and the receptor source. So let's say I have passed a signal, it got reflected through the satellite, and both the amplitude, that is the quality of the signal, will be attenuated. The time will also be more delayed, time will also be increased. So might happen that it is going to take, let's say, 10 seconds of total time to reach me. This will cause lag. This will cause time lag, and this will also cause requirement of more energy to provide amplification of the signal, right? It will be enhanced further if my satellite is deployed at a higher height because of the increased length and more number of atmospheric layers coming in between. So latency increases, but latency reduces if I'm deploying something at a lower altitude. The only challenge with deploying something at a lower altitude is that it's not able to have a broader coverage. You must know that if I am deploying a communication satellite, it's going to cover the entire 3 communication satellites have the capacity, if they are placed in geostationary orbit, have the capacity to cover the entire Earth. Okay, only 3 are required in that case. But if I want to have more precision imaging, images of better and higher resolution, then I shall be resorting to something which is deployed or which is put up, installed at a lower height. Okay, so it will reduce the latency and it will enhance and give me high resolution images. So it will be also useful in imaging, and this is also important to be quoted in mains because Project 200 is by a private sector organization of India, which is Bellatrix Technology, space-based. Now, in the first topic, we already read about what are enzymes. Enzymes are a kind of proteins which fasten up the processes. They are the biocatalysts which fasten up the process. I gave you that example that if somebody is suffering from a digestive issue, digestive syndrome, then doctors advise them to take the digestive enzymes so that the larger molecules get disintegrated or digested into smaller molecules more quickly. Okay, to fasten up the process, we require something like enzymes, right? Now we have created an artificial enzyme which are very small in size, nano-sized, right? That is of this size, 10 raised to power minus 9 meter. And they are known as the nanozymes. Please remember, they are created artificially, they are not naturally present. They might be naturally present in the nature, of course. Nature has everything, but nanoenzymes in the context of the news has been created for the first time. Now, because it is showing a nano behavior, I have already told you that anything, the same material, if it is operating at a macro level or operating at a nano level, its property becomes drastically changed. For example, if I take gold. So gold is a very malleable, ductile, shiny material which is very good for creating jewelry and all because it takes the shape very easily, and it is also non-corrosive to a great extent. But at the same time, if I turn those gold particles into nano sizes, what will happen? They act as wonderful catalysts. Similarly, what are we doing? We are creating certain metals into nano shapes which creates nanoenzymes. So what are the applications of nanoenzymes? First and foremost, for drug delivery, and also to enhance the drug efficacy because it is going to accelerate the reaction of the drug in the body. Third one, because they expedite the breakdown of the organic material, can they also not be used for pollution, as pollution retardants or for pollution treatment of the pollutants? Can they also not be used in bioremediation? I hope you are well versed with these topics because we have read them already a number of times. So it will be having a lot of applications from waste management to medical sciences, even in the industrial application because it will expedite the chemical reactions for manufacturing facilities. So many advantages are there for bioenzyme, for nanoenzyme. Now ma'am, why am I not using the naturally occurring enzymes and why are we creating nanoenzymes? First of all, to extract the natural bioenzyme, that is a much more cost and time intensive process as compared to creating dedicated and specialized nanoenzymes. Nanoenzymes have got other benefits as well. Look into the normal enzymes. For example, the pineapple fruit has got a lot of digestive enzyme. But what will happen after some time? The pineapple will die out, will be adulterated. The enzymes will lose their vitality. Therefore, to enhance the shelf life of the enzyme, to ensure that these are more stable chemically and physically, they can be produced in higher amount, high production, artificial nanoenzymes can be created. Okay. Now comes the last topic of our Recitals magazine, and this is a very interesting one, a gender inclusive topic indeed. This is the launch of a new program by the Department of Science and Technology in India. This is the Women in Space Leadership Program. Now, this is actually a sub-program of an already working program, which is actually a bilateral collaboration between India and United Kingdoms. So initially, in 2006, both the countries came together to strengthen each other's institute, so much so that we could see the growing signs of gender inclusivity. Gender inclusivity. So let's say both of them are working in the field of STEM field. In the field of STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and they would ensure that the targeted institutions have got more entrants of gender, of the female gender, the other genders associated with the LGBTQ community. That is the main agenda. And not only that, it also ensures the industry, academia and governmental collaboration in the field, and also the technology transfer from one country to another country, and the skills transfer as well. So that is the agenda of this wider program, wider picture, which got launched in 2006 by the name of UK India Education and Research Initiative. So when in the GS paper 2 we write about the bilateral relations, if we are given a question on UK and India, please write down about this one, because this has been a very successful initiatives in promoting gender inclusive institutions in both the countries, but specifically in India. So it got launched in this particular year, and till 2022 it has gone through 3 successful phases, providing gender inclusivity in more than 200 institutions in both the countries' STEM institutes. Now, looking upon the success of the same, in 2023, it got extended into a 4th phase, and now we are going to venture into the field of space inclusivity, targeting the institutions where the space leadership is seen or where space leadership can be driven. Those institutions would include right from your schools, colleges, research institutions to the application-based institutes, for example, ISRO, and for example, some other growing space-based startups. So, in 2024, Department of Science and Technology, in collaboration with United Kingdom's British Council, has launched the Women in Space Leadership Programs. Talking about the women's in the space leadership programs, they are the unsung heroes, not very often celebrated, but you should be having certain examples on your fingers. These are Honorable Nandini Harinath, who was very significant in the success of MOM mission, Mars Orbiter mission. Then Ritu Karidhal. Ritu Karidhal, we all know about her. Why is she famous? She is famous for being the program director of Chandrayaan mission, Chandrayaan 2, and of Mars Orbiter mission or Mangalyaan mission. Then Anuradha, who was again stalwart of Chandrayaan mission. She was the program director there, Chandrayaan mission. Then we have got Meenal Rohit. Meenal Rohit has been very famous in making IRNSS a success. What is IRNSS? Tell me in the comments. Is it a space-based satellite? Is it a communication satellite? Is it a communication satellite, and where are these satellites deployed? So she was the main hand towards the success of IRNSS. So these are some of the important women scientists, but you can still see that they are very few in numbers as compared to our women population in India, which is roughly about 50% of the total population. We see a lot less of them participating in the STEM field. because of many issues, the cultural hypocrisy around it, the social restrictions, the economic restrictions, the technical barriers. They are not given the proper education at the right time. They're often demotivated. Their family contributions are considered more superior as compared to their contribution in the field of STEM field. Of course, R&D processes takes more patience from the sides of scientists. So to make the women enter into R&D, that is also an issue, because the society doesn't expect women to be working for so long into something which is not that much remunerative at the beset of not doing their family responsibilities. So these are some of the challenges that the women scientists do face, or in general the aspirants in the STEM field they do feel. So now what we need to really look into is how government is supporting our bright minds. How are they enabling them? The first program is led by the Department of Science and Technology. It is a very encompassing scheme. This is the Women Scientist Scheme. It does multitude of works. First of all, to bring the women who have got some experience in the STEM but took a break from it due to some family duties, they will be able to get a fellowship for up to 3 years, along with network building, along with government support, along with training, especially training in the field of IPR, how to secure their IPR, especially if they're working on R&D sector, okay, and providing them grants. Next is the Kiran scheme. Kiran scheme, knowledge involvement in research advancement through nurturing. This is again to revive or to bring into the STEM field the women who've taken a break. So this is basically an incentivizing scheme for women who have taken a break from their career. How do they do? By providing them mentoring, by providing them training and R&D support. This is again by which Department of Science and Technology. Next is another scheme by SERB, which is Science and Engineering Research Board of India. So SERB incentivizes or promotes the women who've been working or who've been delivering the groundbreaking work in the STEM field by incentivizing them through awards. So we have got an award for them as well. Then there is international collaboration. For example, the WISER. This is an international collaboration between India and Germany, which gives the women scientists up to 12 lakh of grants for supporting their fellowship and for supporting their research projects. So this is an Indo-German collaboration. And last but not the least, we have got the Indo-US Fellowship for Women as well. This fellowship lasts for up to 3 to 6 years, and it also renders exchange of information, exchange of knowledge between these two very, very bright and potential countries, India, US, India, Germany. And then we have Vigyan Jyoti. See, because what happens is, the curiosity could only be developed in a particular sector or in a particular field from the childhood itself. And when is the time when you are actually made to choose between different fields, whether you have to go for a PCM, PCB or for a commerce? It's the 10th standard. So Vigyan Jyoti targets the girls from the class of 9th till 12th standard, provides them mentorship, free visit to some of the important science institutes, for example, ISRO, for example, Vikram Sarabhai Center, towards the nuclear institutes, etc., in order to give them more exposure and to build their curiosity in joining and contributing towards the STEM field. This is also done by conducting an exam and providing them scholarships. Scholarship, mentoring, hand-holding, all of this is given to the class students from 9th standard to 12th standard under the Vigyan Jyoti scheme, which comes under, again, the scheme of Department of Space and Technology. So these are the existing schemes in place, but of course, we've got a long way to go in order to enhance STEM penetration across all the genders, not just women, but across all the genders of the country, and not just country, across world. But more importantly, for a very underutilized women force of India, so that we can create more numbers of scientists like Kadambini Ganguly, like Anandibhai Joshi, like Janki Ammal. If you have not read about them, kindly read about them and try to include them in your answers, so that you seem to be more gender aware about the STEM fields and the STEM achievements of India. So on that note, I will end this discussion of science and technology for you from the month of September. See you in the next month of October. We'll be looking into a lot of noble achievements that have been made. We'll see how and why India is lacking in the field of Nobels across multiple areas. We'll be looking into the important topics of science and technology. So see you in the next month.